Welcome to LeaderOne Live, where we bring the experts to you.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 5 of LeaderOne Live. Today's guest is Brian Vieaux with FinLocker, founder of FinLocker. And FinLocker has an all-in-one app to achieve financial fitness and mortgage readiness. So welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks, Alice. I'm excited to be here.
So good to see you. Now,
Likewise.
Unless you've been living under a rock, most people, at least that are on the LinkedIn platform, know who you are in the mortgage space. You've done an amazing and phenomenal job of building a community there. And you're doing some pretty cool things, actually, kind of tracking the industry and engagement. So that's been a fun venture that you've started on recently. Yeah,
it started like 2.5 years ago. I just built a small spreadsheet, and I might have had 25, 30 people on there. And I used the spreadsheet as just a reminder of like who I should engage with on LinkedIn. And then, from time to time, I would add people to it. Well, fast forward to today, that little spreadsheet has just about 600 people from within the mortgage industry. And I've built out like the data that I'm tracking. So I've got like who they are, the number of followers, company they work for, a link to the profile. On occasion, we'll collect some data from people like to measure engagement. And what's happened with this is it's turned into its own little community of like-minded people in the mortgage industry who are trying to get smarter on LinkedIn. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And you're doing a really great job with your graphics. You've got some cool graphics there and everything. So that's
the 100. Well, I had a little help with a logo from Elizabeth Tura, but other than that, it's me being a hack on Canva.
That's awesome. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about FinLocker. LeaderOne, we started a partnership with you. It's been a little over a year ago, and we have our own version of your app called Manifest with Us, which we'll get into a little bit. It's been amazing, and we're really getting into the fun part where we're starting to see those clients come out on the other side. We actually did an interview recently with a client that got pre-approved, that had really gone through and engaged a lot with the app. But it's been great. Just tell us a little bit about why you wanted to, start this company and bring a product like this into the space.
Yeah, so I'm not a founder, but I wasn't with the company when it started, but I was around.
My apologies there.
No, that's fine. I was around the company from day one. Friends of mine are the founders. I was an early investor and had been providing kind of input. At the time, the company started trying to solve for a very specific pain point in the loan manufacturing process. And it was really focused on verification of assets. And so if you think about the traditional way that loan processors and underwriters review a customer's bank statements, everyone's seen the rubber thumb that we used to put on and sift through documents. So FinLocker was founded to help solve for that review process of a consumer's bank statements by, instead of receiving and reviewing documents, a consumer could connect their bank account and then securely share access to the transactional data. So we started as this, utility in the loan manufacturing process, and built on top of that to what we are today, which is
you've come a long way.
Yeah. We still do asset verification. It's a byproduct of our app. We do sell asset verification as a standalone service, but our main existence is to help lenders and loan officers scale their ability to educate and engage consumers much earlier in the home buying journey.
That's awesome. Well, we sure have, we've used the app a lot, and there's so many different aspects to it that have been exciting to us. Of course, it's a credit tool, so you've got a credit simulator in there, and a lot of people use like Credit Karma and companies like that. But the great thing about the FinLocker app is that it's a closed environment, and it's so clean and it's so nice, and customers can really go in, they can simulate their score, they can set a credit score goal and figure out what it's going to take to do to get them there. And the interface itself is just really clean. I know you guys have focused on that a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's what we live and breathe. And you mentioned an interview we did with one of your clients, and so it's feedback that we get directly from lenders who are our clients, but also your consumers. And we take consumer feedback, as often as we can get it, and pour that feedback back into the experience. One thing I'll hit on when we talk about our app being up funnel. One thing that I'll often say to loan officers and lenders alike is, we don't want to get in the way of the number one goal and objective for a loan officer, and that's to get a consumer into your loan manufacturing process, into underwriting, and into closing. And so most of us as originators have our happy path, which starts with, our application, whether it's a digital application or whatever that process looks like. And what we talk about a lot is most companies have really focused a lot of attention on the call to action, apply now, right? Which, by the way, we believe is important. That's our lifeline as originators. What we suggest is that in addition to that apply now call to action, that you have another call to action for those that aren't ready to apply. And especially in this market, in this environment, this time of the year, you might have a lot more people that hit your website who aren't yet ready to apply. And so we suggest having this other call to action. And in the case of LeaderOne, it's the Manifest with Us application that kicks in for you.
Yeah, it's that get ready mentality and the long journey homeowner. We've talked about it before, but I think, it is crazy to me to think that often people show up on the day they're ready to buy the house, and that's when they start to figure out what to do and what they need to have and what qualifications are necessary to get qualified.
Yeah.
And with that being the biggest purchase that most Americans will ever make, it's crazy that, this is really a revolution and something that has been long overdue, to start the process way earlier, to make sure that clients know that we don't want to talk to them just when they're ready to apply. We want to educate them. We want to coach them. We want to explain the process so that they don't inadvertently make mistakes or go down a path that might get them further away from being able to get pre-approved. And especially, like you mentioned, having another option, in today's environment where credit is outrageously expensive and is only going to get more expensive, to have, if someone says, I know my score is, 500, or I know, I'm late on a bunch of things or whatever, having that ability to go in and register them for the Manifest with Us app in our case, and look at their credit with them that way before we just hit their credit, or, even do a soft check, because not only is, it may be a credit inquiry that will be on their credit report, but it's also a cost.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love that use case. For us, every time we talk with loan officers, we're learning how they're using, our product to help address the rising cost of credit. That's a great example. Something else I'll put out there for your audience to think about is we talk a lot about point of sale, and point of sale traditionally has been, especially in a purchase environment, is when a consumer raises their hand, says, I'm ready to buy. Maybe they've already made an offer, to your point, and now they need to find out what they are approvable for, right? What we're trying to coach our loan officer partners on is to become relevant at the point of thought, not just the point of sale. And I love what you do specifically, Alice, with what you're doing on social media. You're leading with consumer education and pulling people into your ecosystem much earlier in their process. And I think we're all racing to get to the consumer as early as possible and build a meaningful, trust-based relationship. And what better way to build it than with education, right? And really providing a set of tools that goes along with the great education that so many of our loan officers provide out there.
I was just having this conversation with some of my fellow business development colleagues earlier today about, and we love our realtor partners, don't get me wrong, but they're going out, they're prospecting, they're getting that lead, they're talking to that client, and yes, some of them are inquiring about homes, but they're constantly touching on their sphere, and they're asking people, if they know anyone who is ready to buy or sell a house. We can be doing those same things. We can say, hey, do you have any idea, would you be able to get pre-approved, touching on and getting, like you said, top of the funnel, having tools like Manifest with Us to go out and just reach out directly to consumers, because you're right. Today's home buyers, the next generation of home buyers, they want to be able to go online. They want to find resources there. They want to figure things out for themselves. And so that creates a real opportunity for loan officers to get up there and be first in line.
I did a session last week with one of our clients, and we had maybe 24 loan officers on, and I challenged them in a 10-minute time frame to create a list of at least 5 people that they know or that they know through somebody else who likely will be thinking about buying a home in the next 2 years.
Okay.
And 24 loan officers, everybody had their list in like 3 minutes. And so then I said, okay, that was easy. By the way, all you loan officers in this case, you should be sending immediate text to those 5 people that you just listed with a link to your FinLocker app, which they did. But my next challenge was, okay, now each of you knows 5 people that know 5 people that are in that same category. And I gave the example, if I walked out my front door of my house and looked to the right or to the left down the street, there's at least 5 kids of my neighbors or friends of the kids of my neighbors who are in that, mid-20 age range where they're starting to think about. And that's really the mindset that I'm trying to coach on. Is it's actually easy to engage someone when they raise their hand and say, I'm ready to buy. That's what we've all done for a lot of us for decades. It's a little bit more challenging to put yourself out there for someone that's 2 years out from being ready to buy. But when you have a tool like Manifest with Us, it gives you something tangible to connect with that 2-year out home buyer. And so that's my challenge to your audience is who are the 5 that are in your ecosystem, and then who are the 5 that are in the 5 people that you know. And you could build a pretty big, pipeline of prospective home buyers that way.
Rather than just kind of waiting for them to come to you from whoever they end up looking at houses with, right? We just need to get a little bit of confidence and go out there and start having those conversations.
Right on.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, and I can share a little about our personal experience, but about the process that a loan company would go through if they wanted to have their own version of your app.
Yeah. I mean, we have a contracting process. So it's always, we go through the traditional vendor review, which we're a SOC 2 type 2 audit company. So we never have a problem with vendor approval. Once a company decides they're ready to move forward with us. Do you like that sun shining on my head, by the way?
That's okay.
Once a company decides they're ready to move forward, our process for implementation, it's pretty straightforward. Typically the long pole in the tent is our client, the lender, in their marketing team coming up with a product name like Manifest with Us, a product logo, maybe a color schema, because this is a full white label deployment of the product, including we publish our tech to the lender's account on Apple and Google Play. So as a lender and then as a loan officer at that lender, you will have this financial fitness home ownership readiness app in your account on the App Store. And so what that means is now you live on your prospects and clients' phone 24/7. So the process is pretty straightforward, but you have to have your ducks in a row from a marketing and branding perspective. You have to have an account with Google and Apple from a app store perspective. But other than that, we do all the heavy lifting.
It was actually really fun. I thought, creating the logo and coming up with the name, and then just doing the build out. And you've got an amazing team, of course. They're just, they've continued to be so supportive, and they've done things like come on and host classes for our realtors. They've, asked for feedback. I think you guys are constantly doing new things in order to just enhance and do upgrades to the app. One of my favorite features that you've added and really built out is the ability to co-brand the app with agent partners, so that they can go out and they can start registering people. Or, as is often the case, if we get a referral from them, then we can send that realtor's link so that they're sitting in their ecosystem. And then another one of my favorite things that with the app is these emails that we get around midnight. So I wake up to them like every morning, and it's talking about whose credit score is increased and if someone's ready to go. And you've got this really cool feature in there that will say, tell them when they're mortgage ready. They get the 4 stars and they're ready to go. And that's awesome. So tell me about any challenges that you guys are facing in engagement, because of course we get people to sign up, and then you guys send out the drips and the notifications to mobile notifications. But I'm sure one of the greatest challenges is getting people to continue to engage in the app.
Yeah, there's 2 layers to that, Alice. There's layer 1, which is our client, which is you, right? You, the lender, the loan officer. So, you all as a cohort are a challenging enigma, right? Loan officers and lenders, because you guys are just pulled in so many different directions at all times. And so for us, the key first engagement happens with the loan officer, and making sure that the loan officer understands everything there is to understand about the product. And so with that, we really encourage every loan officer that comes on board to create their own consumer account, so they can touch and feel the experience from their client's perspective. And then we do a lot of coaching on, best practices for scripting. We have a lot of clients that are very active on social media like you are, and they use their social media posts as a call to action to consumers to create an account, which is a great lead magnet strategy. And then as it relates to the consumer, as far as ongoing engagement goes, we study that like crazy. And so we measure a consumer's return rate in the first 90 days of creating an account. And we're targeting north of 60% of all consumers that create an account to log back in at least once in the first 90 days. We have a full strategy around ongoing engagement. So consumers that connect their credit, as an example, they'll get at least 1 monthly notification when their credit score updates. If they already own a home and they're tracking the value of their home in the app, they'll get an update when that property value updates once every 30 days. And then, as you noted, as a consumer onboards, we ask a few questions as every consumer onboards, and one of them is where they are on their home ownership journey. And then we'll ask them goals and objectives. And so typically it's, target time, target price, et cetera. And we take the combination of all that information and create a very dynamic engagement with that consumer that is going to hopefully pull them in, timely based on their goals and objectives. So there's a lot going on there. All of those communications happen on behalf of our lender client. Everything we do from a communication perspective is branded to the lender.
Yeah. And I love, getting them, and most of the time we're putting somebody in there, we're having them enroll because maybe they have a credit issue or something like that. So encouraging them to sign up for credit is important, because then if they don't engage, we're still getting updates like, hey, their score went up. We can reach out to them, which is a great trigger.
That's right.
But I forgot kind of about, yes, we have to engage too as loan teams, because we can go in and build this really nice app. But if you're not like sharing it with people and you're not, you're not letting everyone know about it, then it's just sitting there. We are technology bogged down. But I will say that this has been an amazing tool for us, and one we've embraced and used. And it's not without, it takes work. It takes building it into your process and just making it a part of something that you automatically do. And that's the key, right? And then I think the first time homebuyer seminar, which we know was kind of dead for a while, but is so necessary. And we had Kristen Messerly on last week talking about first home IQ, but we really are going to embrace and challenge ourselves to get out there and talk to a lot of people about, the modern mortgage market and home buying process, because I think it is more confusing than ever, and people are more credit challenged and budget constrained than they've been. And the average age of a first time home buyer, I heard one stat said 36 and one said 38, but I think that means that we really have to drive home that it's okay, and it's okay that you don't understand and you don't know, and to embrace that process. And that is such a great opportunity to enroll people and to really, build up your database in your FinLocker app.
I mean, imagine if the average age is truly 36 or 38, which I believe it is. I mean, there's, it makes sense, right? Think you have a decade's worth of otherwise people who would have entered the home buying experience if there were inventory, right? If the affordability wasn't such a challenge. And so never has there been this bigger bubble of people who want and would otherwise be ready to buy. That's the perfect population to be engaging with, for the next 2 to 3 years as a loan officer.
That is so true. Are you hearing us, loan officers? What an amazing opportunity, because you're right. Like that's people graduating from college, then 12 years they're sitting there and they're knowing they want to be a homeowner, but they're not yet. Amazing. Well, so what's next for FinLocker? What's on the agenda for 2025?
We're cautious to throw the AI buzzwords out there, but we are introducing some features in our app. The first feature is really for the loan officer. So we've developed a chat bot that sits in our admin portal. So where the loan officer kind of engages with the data. And the first feature that we're releasing in that chat bot is what we call a content creator prompt. So one of the struggles that we talked about is adoption by loan officers. So we're going to help by taking all of the content we've created and a lot of the content our clients have created, housing it in a resource center, and then we have a chat bot that'll sit on top of it. And so as a loan officer, I'll be able to interrogate this resource center with this chat bot and do something like, hey, chat bot, create an Instagram post talking about the importance of budgeting for early journey first-time home buyers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
I love that.
Look for that. You'll be part of our first wave that goes on that launch. And then for the consumer, we've already introduced our first layer of AI analysis. So anytime a consumer runs their mortgage readiness in the app, we're now going to take their original run and create 4 additional views or scenarios off of that original readiness run. So now the consumer, after they've run their readiness, can compare, a 20% down to a 5% down, maybe see the impact if the rate were a half point lower, or what would happen if they improved their DTI by 3 points. So a bunch of different scenarios that we automate for the consumer to help with their readiness analysis.
That's great, because that's another black hole out there on the internet, is mortgage calculators and things like that. It's so confusing. So That's great. Well, I'm a huge fan. LeaderOne's a fan. This has been a great piece of technology for us, and one of the ones we're going to lean on here in the year ahead to really help us engage with with consumers. So thank you so much, Brian, for coming on. It's a great
Thank you.
honor to have you on the show, and we'll be seeing a lot of you very soon.
Thanks, Alice.